Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there, to the creatives, healers, sensitives, and deep thinkers. This is bonus episode 53, and today I want to talk about the reality is that people are not going to be able to show up for us in the way that we want them to all the time. What's been going on is I have a very close relationship with someone who's going to remain nameless because I want to maintain the few close friends that I have. And recently, this other person has a lot of things going on. It's very normal. In the past, historically with relationships, when I feel like I'm not getting my needs met, I say something, I get upset, I get hurt. And I've really been mindful that people can care about me, people can show up the best way that they can, and I'm not always going to get my needs met. I've really just been sitting with it and observing how I'm feeling. I've been waiting to see how long this feeling lasts. Is it going to go away? I also know that when I go through this, I really want to externalize because it feels uncomfortable. It hurts when we don't feel seen and heard. And so I want to find things on the outside to complain about, to pick on that aren't working. I've mentioned this before, like I sometimes want to pick a fight with my husband, or I want to focus on the things that aren't going well. And I haven't done any of that. I've really been incredibly mindful about just sitting with the discomfort and being curious and observing what's going on. I was not going to say anything about how I'm feeling in this relationship, but there are a number of times when I've asked some questions. I've talked about some things that are bugging me, and I just haven't gotten the response, either a response or the response that I wanted. And something happened today where just kind of by the nature of what was going on, I needed to say something. I really tried to do the best that I could to say, hey, I've really been going through a hard time. I've asked a couple things. I've said a couple things. I don't feel like you've responded. I'm trying to sit with my discomfort. I'm not feeling seen and heard. I'm not saying that you're doing anything wrong, but it's been really, really challenging for me. And the other person came back with that they were feeling defensive and that they do a really good job showing up as a friend, which I agree. They are a great friend. And I did not feel seen and heard. It was very painful. I already had cried a little bit today. That kind of helped bring up all these feelings. So I had a few really big cries. And then my husband and I were talking. And because I've been feeling hurt and injured. I mean, the other thing that's coming up, there are a number of things that are going on. Some of them I'm going to share with you. Some of them I'm not. My birthday is in a few days. And historically, I usually get together with a couple of very close friends. We have a meal together. It's just really lovely. And as I've shared with you, I'm in this place where I'm really growing and changing. And so some long-term relationships that I've had just don't seem to be working. And in the meantime, there aren't a lot of close relationships that I have with people. It's been really a blessing. I've made some incredibly close I can't even say this right. I've made some very good friends. They just don't happen to live in San Diego. We have virtual coffee dates. I've loved working with Jen Perry. We've been co-facilitating one of the beta HSP courses that we're running. It's been a delight working with her. They're just some wonderful people that do not live in California. And so I've just been feeling kind of meh about my birthday. I usually know what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want to do. I'm just kind of having this existential discontent. And I think part of what's going on is so much of my life has been about connecting with other people. And I've talked about, I'm really good at connecting. I'm really good at meeting other people's needs. I work really hard. And that's also where I get my sense of value and self-esteem. And I think part of this angst that I'm going through is really starting to see that I need to learn how to be here for me. I need to learn how to meet my needs. I need to learn how to soothe myself. I need to learn how to reassure myself. It's not that I can't have other relationships with other people. We really need that. It's okay to depend on other people. It's okay to need people. It's healthy. We want that in our lives. And I really need to practice being here for myself more than I have been. And I feel like that's part of what's been going on. And I think that's why I'm feeling so much angst. So when I was talking with my husband today, one of the things that I've said the last couple of days is like, I'm just uncomfortable. And it's like, it's not really fun being me, being with me. And I've said like, I don't know which is harder, being me or being with me. And because I've been in this just vulnerable place, I usually am pretty good about asking for a reality check, or I'll say like, this is the point where you say, oh, honey, I love being with you. I just have not been able to do that because in this space that I'm in, it feels like he's going to, if I were to ask, like, is it really hard for you to be with me? The gremlins are saying like, he's going to go like, oh, heck yes. It is really painful for me to be with you because you're just really a drag to be around right now. So I haven't said anything. So that's like one more way that I've been holding on to an injury, making up a story in my head and then not wanting to talk about it because I'm sure he's going to validate it. So when we talked today, I shared this with him and said, this is what's been going on with me. And my husband is a wonderful guy. He loves me. I mean, the people in my life love me. They care about me. They're good people. This is just stuff that comes up. So I want to make it really clear that I'm not implying that my husband should have been doing something or wasn't doing something that he should have. He just doesn't know. So we talked about it. He was very supportive. The other thing is I just have been feeling like stuck. I've started swimming again, which I love. And I thought it would bring me more joy. Like, I'm playing, I'm doing the things that I love and just have this existential junk going on. We decided that we were going to go swimming. I wanted to go up to the pool. He offered to come with me. Oh, I'm jumping all over the place. So I was talking about stuck energy. So I don't know if you'll have heard this by the time this episode comes out, but I interviewed Helen Joy Butler, who lives in Australia, and we talked about in our conversation about stagnant energy in our home and what we can do to change that energy. And so I decided this morning, like, I need to shift the energy, and there's lots of junk in the house and lots of stuff that doesn't need to be here. And so I moved a lot of that around thinking, well, what's the option? I'm feeling really crummy. And I needed to do something. And it just was kind of nice to try and shift the energy around, do some cleaning up, some tidying up, get rid of things that don't serve me. So that was one of the things that I did. And it felt nice to do that. There's still more stuff to do. There always is. So anyways, Steve and I decided to go up to the pool and we went swimming. And I found myself ruminating about this. Okay, maybe ruminating isn't the best word. I'm a deep thinker and a deep processor. So I'm going over this injury that I'm having with this person and how I don't feel very seen and heard. So I checked in internally, kind of that little spirit inside of me. And my little internal spirit really needed to be seen and heard. And so as I was swimming, I made up this song about how much things suck right now. And I was able to talk to this person that I'm not feeling seen and heard by and, talk about all the ways that I think that it sucks right now. I was able to sing to myself about what I wanted to hear, how I wanted to be reassured, like you are seen and heard, your feelings matter, you matter. I'm not able to show up for you right now, and that really sucks. And again, we've talked about naming things. It really gave me an opportunity to move this energy through me. And I think it's easy when we go through stuff like this to rationalize, like we're having competing needs. I'm feeling frustrated. The other person's showing up and doing the best they can. But we have these internal feelings, and if we don't talk about it, the energy does not move through us. It's like in the same way that I felt like energy in my house is stuck, energy inside of me is stuck, and it's hard. And these are, for me, some young feelings, some hurt feelings, and we often don't know what to do with that. So I sang my It Sucks song over and over and over as much as I needed to, and it really did seem to help. And then I really focused on what is it that I need to hear? What is it that I need to tell myself? And it ultimately comes down to me being here for myself in a way that makes me feel loved and nurtured. It doesn't mean that this person doesn't love me. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It means they've got other stuff going on right now and they're not able to attend to me. I think there are very young parts of us that we want people to show up for us perfectly, 100%, in ways that are meaningful to us all of the time. It's okay to want that. The reality is we're probably not going to get that. And I can see where I hate using the term codependence. I hate using labels. But I also can see how I think that we make unconscious agreements with people like, I'm going to be here for you, and then I want you to be here for me. I'm not judging it. I'm not saying that anything is wrong, but I'm really having an opportunity to see how much I overwork to show up for people and to help and to be supportive and to be nurturing, because it gives me a sense of connection. And when I do that in a relationship and the other person is in a place where they have things going on and they're not able to reciprocate, I don't feel so good about showing up and doing that stuff. Kind of when we have that like, this doesn't feel so good, or a sense of resentment, that's an indicator that the reason why we're showing up and the way we're showing up may not be with pure intentions. Because ideally, we show up and we give and participate because we genuinely want to, not because we have an expectation or a hope that people will do that back to us. This is a very complicated situation. I'm just kind of naming what's going on, and it's going on. So where do we go from here? I always want to say this. It's like, gosh, I'm darned if I know. I'm sharing this with you, and I really was debating before I started, like, do I want to make a recording about this? When things are going really well, I don't have an awful lot to share. And when I'm struggling with things is when I really have more things to talk about. You know, the other thing that came up for me when I was swimming is how painful and uncomfortable it is when we feel powerless in situations. We want somebody to be there for us in a way that we want them to, and they're not able to. That's frustrating. It hurts. It's disappointing. We can feel angry. We can feel sad. And I think that we want to organize around like, I want to hurt them. I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to show them. I mean, my fantasies are, I'm going to withdraw, and then they're going to miss me, and then they're going to want to be friends with me, and they're going to realize that I have value. This goes back to how I felt when my dad left. I mean, I really felt like he just didn't love me. It had nothing to do with me. This is how our wounds get carried forward. And so it's okay that the thoughts and the feelings and desires are coming up. But part of in my It Sucks song, I was talking about how I hate feeling powerless. I hate that I just get to sit with this, that there's not a lot that I can do. And I've talked about in the past, I'm not saying this is going on in this relationship, but when I've had breakups in relationships, I get rid of everything that belongs to the person because I don't like sitting with that discomfort. And so that's a way that I externalize trying to get rid of feelings that aren't comfortable. And what I can tell you is uncomfortable and painful and vulnerable as I feel, I can see that the way that I'm walking through this is so much different than how I've done it in the past. I'm continuing to take care of myself. I've talked about it. It's been hard for me to exercise. I've been going to yoga consistently. I've started to swim. Like I said, I took a walk with a friend today. I'm doing all the things that I need to do, and I've been incredibly productive this week with my business, taking care of some really big projects that I've been putting off for a long time. I share that with you because I think it's easy to think that everything sucks and life is just falling apart, that usually it's a both and. So yes, I have this thing that's going on that has been painful and uncomfortable, and it's hurt, and I feel powerless, and I'm finding ways to manage and do what I need to do, even if I'm not having a sense of what I call kumbaya, namaste, happy, happy, joy, joy. I have moments of it. I know I keep talking about this stuff with the podcast editor and the editing, but I think it's another pressure that I have been working with an editor on a trial basis for a month. The month was over July 15th. She should have done 4 episodes. I have 2 episodes that are done. And by now we could have had 6 or 7 episodes loaded up, and we don't. So I talked to my son about doing editing. He's great with music and sound, and he's got some great programs. So I told him I would pay him, and he edited the first episode. He's a Mac user. I'm a PC user. He uses Logic Pro. I use Audacity. We're having a really hard time getting the files back onto a Google Drive where I can download them. And he got really frustrated today. I don't think that he had that expectation that we may have some bumps, and I don't know what to do. It doesn't give me a lot of security around the podcast. I really had hoped that I would have, a month and a half's worth of episodes banked. So if something happens, they're up and loaded. I'm hoping that my son will want to continue to edit. I'm not sure what's happening with this other editor. It's also brought up this sense of I must be incredibly picky, because I just have very specific expectations, I think, especially as you, the listeners, are sensitive to mouth noises like, I want all that stuff taken care of. I just have very high expectations about how I want things edited, how I want the show notes to look. And it's bringing up this feeling of like, I must just be really picky and have very high expectations. And I've really been sitting with this ambiguity, this not knowing if the editor is going to work out, not knowing if my son is going to want to stick with doing the editing, if it's worth it for him. I've really been sitting with a lot of like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to have to wait and see. The other thing is that I shared with you that, well, I don't think I want to go here, so never mind. What I can share with you is somebody that I stopped connecting with. I really can't do this. I've just been sitting with a lot of ambiguity. So what's the take-home message? That we can have hurt, frustration, disappointment. We can be sad that people aren't there for us. We can sit with the discomfort. We can find ways to soothe. We can find ways to move that energy through us. We don't have to take it out on anybody. I trust that when the time is right, I'll be able to work this through with this person. It's just not going to happen right now. And I always have choices about relationships that I'm in. I get to decide, is this working for me? Is it not working for me? And I'm not implying that this is a deal breaker. But I think we end up feeling powerless, and we get to remember that we get to choose, at least in our personal relationships, we get to choose if we want to continue in them. Are we getting our needs met? So my hope is that you will identify with some of this. You'll see that there are some tools. You'll have a new perspective. It will be very validating and normalizing for you. And you know what? Sometimes things just suck. So you can make up your own It Sucks song. You want to send me a copy of your It Sucks song? I'd love to hear it. 2 really exciting events that I have coming up that I want to tell you about. One is the HSP Online Course that we have beginning the week of September 16th. If you sign up before September 1st, I'm offering it at a pretty steep discount. If you have any questions and you want to get on a 30-minute call with me to see if this is a good fit for you, I believe so strongly in this course. I also offer a money-back guarantee. If you want to get more information, you can go to unapologeticallysensitive.com. There's a tab for the HSP Online Courses. The other thing I'm really excited to offer is I'm doing a meetup in San Diego, California in South Park on Saturday, September 7th from 10 a.m. until noon. This is the year 2019. If you're listening to this in the future, you will need to go to meetup.com. The name of the meetup is called Learn About the Highly Sensitive Person and Meet Other Sensitives. And it's in my name, Patricia Young. The account is under Unapologetically Sensitive. At noon, I'm going to be doing a drawing for a free registration for the online course. So if that's something you're interested in and you live in or near San Diego, I would love to see you here. I also want to say thank you to the therapists that are referring your clients to the podcast. We have a closed Facebook group called Unapologetically Sensitive. You need to answer a couple of questions to join it. And I've had a number of people join recently that say that their therapist told them about the podcast. Thank you very much to the therapists. If you're comfortable reaching out to me, not to talk about your clients, I wouldn't ask you to do that. I'm just curious to know who you are, and I'd love to thank you. Really, I'd love to hear from anybody. I love the feedback that I get from you. I have a couple of social media accounts. I post a lot of stuff on Pinterest. I have all kinds of graphics around being an HSP, about self-compassion, ton of videos. I do a lot of Facebook Lives, put pretty much everything on Pinterest. I've got an Instagram account. I just started Twitter. I'm trying to figure out how to use it. I really wasn't going to sign up for Twitter, but I'm going to be on somebody's podcast. If you go to my website, unapologeticallysensitive.com, I've got links to all of my media accounts, except for Twitter. I need to get that on there, but I'm unapologetically sensitive on all of them. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. By the time you hear this, we will have been past this, but I hit 30,000 downloads just after 8 months, which is amazing. It's just amazing. So thank you to everybody who listens, who's shared the podcast with other people. I really do appreciate you. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.